Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. My name is Kavya Budhiraja and I welcome you to your own YouTube channel, Being Krishna Conscious. People oftentimes ask, well, if there is God, can you show him to me? And if we can't see God, it means that he does not exist. So how to understand? Does God really exist? And if he can exist, is there a way by which we can see God? Let me narrate a funny story here. Once there was a professor. He came to his class and he asked all the students, how many of you believe in the existence of God? A lot of students raised their hands. Then the professor asked, can you touch God? Children said no. He asked, can you taste God? They said no. Can you smell God? No. Can you hear God? No. Can you see God? No. The professor said, then going by the logic that you can't see God, you can't hear God, you can't taste God, you can't smell God, and you cannot touch God, God does not exist. Hence, proved. Among the students, there was a student who raised his hand. Professor said yes. The student asked, Professor, can I ask you one thing? Professor said yes, go on. Now the student asked, Professor, can you see your brain? Professor said no. Can you touch your brain? Professor said no. Can you smell your brain? No. Can you taste your brain? No. Can you hear your brain? Professor said no. The student said, that professor, going by this logic that you can't touch your brain, you can't see your brain, you can't hear your brain, you can't smell your brain, and you cannot taste your brain does not exist. Hence, proved. The professor was shocked. So he said, but I can feel the presence of my brain. I use it all the time. The student smiled and said, just like you can feel your brain, that you can feel the presence of your brain, similarly, the presence of God can always be felt. You can always feel the existence of God. God or Krishna is beyond the material conceptions of life. Brahma Samhita says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. It means Satchidananda Vigraha. Just like our bodies is made up of 5 gross elements and 3 subtle elements, Krishna's body or Krishna's transcendental Swarupa is made up of Sat, Chit and Anand. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of consciousness, and Ananda means full of bliss. So in order to understand Krishna or in order to see him, we also need to have the same level or the same quality as Krishna. Now how does one get that quality? Premanjani Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. Now this verse is quoted by Srila Prabhupada in a lot of his lectures, in which Srila Prabhupada mentions that if we want to see God, if we want to understand him, we need to change our eyes. From material eyes, we need to have Premanjani Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, the eyes, the netra of devotion, the netra of love for Krishna. And only after that, Krishna will give us eyes to see his transcendental form. Just like in the Bhagavad Gita, he tells Arjuna that, oh dear Arjuna, now I will be giving you the eyes, the transcendental eyes with which you will be able to see my original Rupa. So it is only by the mercy of Krishna that we can have the transcendental eyes in order to see him. But even to get his mercy, we need to show Krishna with our sincere efforts that, my dear Krishna, I was forgotten. Please kindly have your mercy upon me. Let me become full of devotion for you and let me be able to understand you. And when Krishna sees our sincere efforts in order to please him, then he will give us his mercy. And how do we know that Krishna has bestowed mercy upon us? He will give us sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha sarva shastra koe, lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoye. He will give us sadhu sangha. Because sadhus are the representatives of Krishna. The heart of a sadhu is the resting place of Sri Krishna. So whenever we are fortunate to be in the association of a saintly person or a sadhu or a Vaishnava, please note that that is the mercy of Krishna, and that Krishna is very much pleased by our efforts. Now comes the question, how can you get the Premanjan? How can you get the netra or the eyes full of love for Sri Krishna? Well, you can get Premanjan by hearing Krishna Katha. Yes, you can see Krishna through your ears. Just like Srimati Rukmini Devi, she never saw Krishna, yet she fell in love with Sri Krishna. How? Just by hearing Krishna Katha, just by hearing his beautiful pastimes. Another example that is found in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam is Sri Prahalad Maharaj. He never saw Krishna physically, he just heard his Krishna Katha. He just heard the Leelas of Krishna from his Gurudev, Narad Muni. And we know how when all the atrocities were being carried upon on Prahalad Maharaj by his father Hiranyakashipu, Sri Narsingh Dev personally came to rescue Sri Prahalad Maharaj. Such is the power of Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. So instead of just questioning if God exists, can you show me God, or we will not believe in the existence of God unless we see Him ourselves, we should actually try to cultivate the devotional substance so that Krishna would want to see us. There's a very beautiful saying, don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Similarly, don't ask, can you show me Krishna? Instead, do your sincere efforts that Krishna would want to see you. And that will be the perfection of our human form of life. So the first step that we can do right now is to hear Krishna Katha from the lotus lips of a bona fide Vaishnava, such as Srila Prabhupada. Do listen to his lectures regularly, then Krishna will definitely have mercy upon us to have Premanjan, or the eyes of devotion. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada.